this morning, feeling shit. Tottenham Hotspur, you're the cause of it. Another season you don't turn up at their place, and you leave us with a egg on our face. Antonio Conte, never again. 3 for 3, don't wanna see it again.
Thank you very much, Sean, for the introduction. I'm sure all Spurs fans will be feeling exactly what you've just sang, Sean. So thank you very much. Good evening. It's Monday night, which means it's Champions League football at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tomorrow evening. And it's the preview show, Tottenham Hotspur, Eintracht Frankfurt, Matchday 3. Joining me, as per usual, is my main man at Sam Spurs for Life and the singing guitarist, Sean Hotspur Hurley. Good evening, boys. How are we? Or should I not ask?
Well, I was just going to say about that song, when you mentioned it's very careful between there's certain words and certain letters where you could use Conte's name that could be quite, expletive. And he was close. And I thought he was going to call him that, but he didn't. So, yes, I like that song.
No, it was just... It was just something I've been playing with today because I keep thinking I'm recovering from Saturday, and then something drags me back down, And
I avoided watching. I haven't watched the whole match again. I just about watched Match of the Day today and watched the highlights, and the mistakes, man. I cannot get over the mistakes, and it's a whole thing. It's not just the players. This was, as I said on the reaction show, Conte has as a part to play in this as well. And people say, no, you can't blame Conte for this. What are you doing? You can. He's the manager. They take responsibility for putting the team out. So no, I'm not having none of that.
The trouble is, Sam, is they extrapolate that and saying we're asking for Conte to go. We don't want Conte to go. The last thing we need to do is replace Antonio Conte.
100%. He's the best manager we've had.
Probably
one of the best manager we'll ever have. Exactly. And the fact is, we have to appreciate that. Yeah, he has his methods. He has the best managers do. But when you're not playing as well as you can, and then you see the results, we're getting the results, it's only going to take something like this. And of course, it had to happen against the worst team it could happen to, being them lot. And that's why everybody's lost their plot. Had it been Chelsea, a bit, same old Spurs sort of thing. Had it been, West Ham again, you could have probably had more, because it's still London clubs. But Arsenal, oh dear.
You have to turn up. You have to put in a performance. And you do not capitulate like we did, and it came from the sidelines as well. I mean,
we can go.
We can reiterate. We can re-legislate that game. But
just the last little bit. Did you see the third goal? We didn't have a right wing back, and Conte had the 5 minutes. This is what Alistair Gold was saying. There was plenty of time to put somebody on there. And if you see the amount of space, I saw Richarlison. He's do I need to get back? And he was trying to jog back. Nobody knew what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing, and that's unforgivable. That's only down to the coach. Sorry 100%. About that.
Listen, we can go on and on and on about this, and I can tell you now, it's gonna continue these conversations on all platforms, everywhere, anywhere. But we now need to move over that one. It's done. It's happened. We're not gonna change the score. We're not gonna change the result. And it's Champions League week this week. Tomorrow night, we're playing Eintracht Frankfurt away. So the whole purpose of this show is to talk and preview the Champions League game. So everyone watching us, good evening and thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe and follow our channel, as we will always be giving you loads and loads of content. Just two quick ones before we move on. Lloyd Hughes saying, Sean, exactly my thoughts.
Thank you, Lloyd.
David Clark is saying, I think Spurs were more out of tune than you was.
Now I know he's taking the piss.
So let me tell you behind the madness. When we went behind back screen in the green room, Sean was playing away on his guitar and he was singing that song. And I went, Sean, hold your thought. I love it. That's how I'm going to introduce your show tonight, because obviously all of Spurs fans will be feeling exactly the same. So I think Sean summed it up for us. So thank you very much, Sean. And
now move on.
let's move on. So, Champions League is back, boys. Tomorrow night, Eintracht Frankfurt. 8 o'clock kickoff. We're going to talk about form. We're going to talk about players to watch. We're going to talk about everything. However, just as we're going to go into it, just before we move on, Sean, Sam, quick thoughts from Saturday to tomorrow night. What you're expecting to see? Just a quick, simple one, and then we'll talk about it in more depth.
Sure,
Sean.
you go first on this one.
I'm expecting a reaction. I mean, I think the players were annoyed. I mean, if you saw, I don't know if you saw the Eric Dyer post-match interview, he was carnaptious, as they say up here. Big, good Scottish word. He was not happy. He didn't want to do that. He sounded like he'd come from a row in the dressing room. And if there was a row in the dressing room and they were calling each other out, good, because they needed to call each other out. But yeah, I expect reaction, and it's going to be harder this game than I would have given it credit for at the beginning of the season or when the draw was made. Yeah.
Cool. Sam?
Changes. I'm just expecting changes throughout the whole. I'm expecting changes from the manager. I'm expecting changes in attitudes from the players. There's not a given. You know, we looked at this group. Me personally, looked at this group and thought, oh, we've avoided all them big boys. Look at the groups we could have got. Look at them lot. Whoa. And now look at us. What they call Frankfurt. I'm going to call them Frankfurt. They're on the same points as us. Do you know what I mean? They're on the same points as us. And we go into a game away from home against them. It's just like, well, we've seen what we've been like in the 2 games so far. It's not a given. So anybody that thinks this is going to be a given, that we're just going to turn up in Germany, that's not going to happen, particularly after that demoralising. It was demoralising because I think as fans, we were all demoralised by Saturday. As you rightly said, Sean, these players have to now react. The manager has to now react. I saw a bit of the training video today, and you could see some of the camaraderie was back with the players. Funnily enough, though, didn't see Emerson Rolling anything today.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I think it's a matter of, we're all talking about it, but I'm sorry, but it's going to be a song time again. But is it going to be the famous pop group Take That? And is it going to be Everything Changes But You? Because everything's going to be changing, but is Conte going to stick to what he's used to, his formation, his players, which we'll look into. So let's have a look. Champions League match day 3 tomorrow at the Deutsche Bank Park Stadium. Let's have a look at the table. So we're in Group D, correct? Play 2. Sporting Lisbon are up top. Play 2, 1-2. Not lost any. Scored 5. 6 points. Tottenham Hotspur. Play 2, 1-1. Lost 1. 3 points. Marseille.
I'm not sure about those last placings.
I thought Marseille were on 0 points and Frankfurt were on 3.
Do you know what? I got this from the Champions League website. So unless they've told me some porky pies.
No, because I thought Frankfurt actually won 1-0 in Marseille.
That's what I thought as well. That's why Marseille won 0 points. Yeah.
Okay.
And they lost to us, obviously. So
well,
yeah.
Anyway, whichever way it is,
it's a big difference because let's make it find out, because I thought Frankfurt were on the same points as us, and that's going to make a huge difference. So come on, gentlemen, we need to have a look at this. People in the comments as well, put it in there because we need to make sure that this is right.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, can somebody please double check for me?
Yeah,
but
I'm going to do that whilst you're on the background. I'm going to go online.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay, I don't know. But
I'm sure Frankfurt won in Marseille. I think it was.
You know what? I think they won 1-0 as well. I think it's Marseille at the bottom and Frankfurt.
Yeah.
I've got 3 points. I think I agree.
So we've got the same amount of points going into tomorrow's game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Group D. Marseille on 0 points, Frankfurt on 3, we're on 3, and Lisbon on 6.
My bad.
Woo!
My bad. Okay, so ignore that. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay. Right. So if we look at the recent form, Frankfurt won 2-0 against Union Berlin at the weekend. They won 3-1 against Stuttgart in the Bundesliga. Then they won 1-0 against Marseille. There you go. It's there. Then they lost to Wolfsburg. They lost to Lisbon in the Champions League. And they won 4-0 at Leipzig. Currently positioned 5th. Tottenham Hotspur, lost 3-1 to Arsenal, won 6-2 to Leicester, lost 2-0 against Sporting, won 2-0 against Marseille, won 2-1 against Fulham, and 1-1 against West Ham United, league position number 3. Now, going into this game, like you guys said, the form, for me, Frankfurt weren't playing well. However, they've picked up the form in the last couple of games. They beat, like you said, they beat Marseille and they won at the weekend. Whereas us, even though we're third, the performances haven't been that great, especially in the Champions League. We just about managed to beat Marseille at home, and that took a sending off. And we weren't convincing at all. We was appalling away to Sporting Lisbon. We've just lost the North London derby, so the confidence is going to be at an absolute low. So going into tomorrow's game now, how important now is this game going to be? Sam, I know we already discussed about when the draw was made, everybody said we've got the easiest group. We had the easiest group last season in the Conference League and we messed up. How important now is this game tomorrow in terms of Champions League qualification?
Well, if you want to keep it in our hands, we have to win. That's simple as that. We then also, if you want to try and make it a little bit safe, I guess we have to hope that Sporting Lisbon beat Marseille, so that Sporting at least know that they're almost there. Marseille then have no points after 3 games, and that kind of helps us because, as I said, any sort of result against Frankfurt will put us in the pole position because then we've got home games to come against, what's it called? Frankfurt, and then obviously, is it Sporting? We play Sporting. Yeah. So we've still got 2 home games to come after that with 1 away game. You'd think you'd win your home games. So I'm just hoping we could get a result against Frankfurt tomorrow. And I would rather Sporting win that game against Marseille just to give us maybe a bit of a buffer. But our away record in Europe for the last few years is not very good. So again, I'm not saying that we're going to go there and beat them. I've already conceded it to be a draw, but, you know, after Saturday, I just don't know how the performance is going to be.
Yeah. Sean?
We haven't won away in Europe since we beat some team called Westerling or something when Gareth Bale was back on loan for us. Since then, we've lost to Dynamo Zagreb, we've lost to Mura, we've lost to Vitesse Arnhem, we've lost to Sporting Lisbon. Now, these are not big names in the world of, you know, European football. And we are on a dreadful run. What you didn't say about Frankfurt's last result, they beat Union Berlin. Berlin were top of the table.
That's right.
They were top of the table.
That's
so
right.
They have turned around. When the draw was made, Frankfurt was stinking out the Bundesliga. They shipped 6 goals at home on their opening day of the season against Bayern. You know what I mean? They were in a dreadful state. Whatever's happened there, they've turned it around. They're now 5th in the table, as you say.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough one. And I'm not confident, you know. I mean, the best I can see us getting is a draw.
It's a draw.
That, you know, if you win your home games and you pick up a point away from home, that normally gets you through. But this is turning into a group of death, a group that we should be, you know, dealing with very well. I mean, everyone said it was a Europa League style group, you know.
Yeah,
and we are struggling. Let's
not even pull any. This is a Europa League standard group. I know all these teams have made the Champions League, but if you look at the big names, we've avoided so many big names. We cannot complain at this group. It is the Champions League for goodness sake. So again, even though these names might not be teams that we kind of associate with winning the Champions League all the time, they've got there for a reason. They're in the Champions League in the same way that we got to the Champions League by performing in their league respectively or winning the Europa, whatever.
Europa League.
Yeah. So this is no way going to be an easy game. And anybody that thinks that going to Frankfurt, we should, they are, as you said, they're in a Bundesliga with some really good teams. And Bundesliga is, you know, comparable to the Premier League in terms of the way they play, in terms of the style that teams play. Some of them, not all of them, but probably the depth isn't quite as much as it is in the Premier League. So a draw, I'll take a draw now. Take it now, mate, personally.
But the thing is, right, when this draw was made, we were all jumping up and down because potentially we've got one of the easiest groups out of the whole Champions League draws. Now, like you guys have already said, Marseille are a decent team. And when we go back to Marseille, I think it's going to be behind closed doors or only limited fans because of the shenanigans that they've been doing recently. Sporting Lisbon hadn't beaten an English club, and then Dr. Tottenham turned up and they beat us. Frankfurt are the Europa League winners last season, and they played some. I mean, they beat West Ham and they beat Barcelona, and then they beat Rangers in the final, and they had some quality players. However, they've lost Kostic and I think one or two other players. However, we should be like you said, we should be convincingly winning these games. Yeah, but we've played twice now in the Champions League and we've been all but convincing. It just seems like, is it Conte and Tottenham have thought, you know what, we've got the easiest group, we just got to turn up and we'll win the game? Or have they just not done their homework and thought, oh shit, you know what, this is not going to be as easy as we think it's going to be. We're going to actually have to perform and play well. Or is it just that they've just not been playing well?
Well, we didn't play well in Lisbon. There's no doubt about it. But we were a minute or so away from coming away with a 0-0 draw. You know what I mean? And that's, that's the fine margins that we're operating on. But yeah, we need, I'm not looking forward to tomorrow night unless, as Sam has indicated, we see some wide-scale changes, rotations, and a change in formation. We cannot concede the amount of the game that we did on Saturday. Again, I'm still haunted by those BT team lineups. When I see 5 midfield players for them and 2 for us, I'm just thinking, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, but yeah, we need a reaction, we need a performance, and we need a formation change. My fear is Emerson is not suspended for tomorrow.
Yeah,
he will play. He will play.
We'll discuss the teams on the next slide and the slide after that. Sam, what's your thoughts?
I think that we almost have to separate the fact that the teams in that Champions League group, we look on papers and being easy. It's the Champions League. That's what we've got to now think. It's the Champions League. Had there been Barcelona, had it been, a Bayern Munich in this group, blah, 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 you'd probably say 3 points after 2 games, one of them being a home win and away loss. Yeah, you take that. It's just the fact that we've got these teams in our group, but it's the Champions League. It's not Europa League. It's not Conference League. They're going to be tough games. As we say in the Premier League every single week, it doesn't matter who you play, if they're top, if they're bottom, it's going to be competitive. Conte knows that about the Premier League. He also knows that about the Champions League because he hasn't obviously got the best record in terms of achievement in there. I just think we've all just kind of glossed over the fact that, it is the Champions League, but we've probably got Europa League names in there. All these teams are in there for a reason. They've done well in their respective leagues, as I've already mentioned, or they've won the Europa. So we have to go into every single game at the top of our performance level, or at least with the best possible physical fitness, the best tactical awareness. Again, it's going to make a difference. When did they play? Did they play Saturday as well? I don't know. These are the little things, these little details. We're having to travel away. It makes a big difference in the Champions League. Hence the reason why when you come back off a Champions League exploits, whether that's away from home, it's always tougher on the Saturday.
Yeah.
This is where the squad's going to come in, and I don't want to hear, or I don't want to see them same players that played on Saturday. Well, not the majority of them. I think we'll see Emerson, and we'll talk about the teams in it, but there's a lot of them players I don't want to see, because if we see them tomorrow, we're probably going to see them on Saturday as well.
Yeah. And I think what we're forgetting, both of you and myself as well, is going to Germany, going to Eintracht Frankfurt away with their fans, because their fans are not quiet and they're not, it's going to be a daunting experience for the Spurs players, especially after the defeat and the manner of the defeat in the North London derby.
It shouldn't be, though. It shouldn't be. We, like I said, Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, those 3 games in themselves are tough places to go. And we do that every single season. Yeah. We've been in Champions League before. We've been in finals. If we can't, I'm not having this pressure thing that every team has to go away. Marseille came to us and they dominated the football game. We can't have this. We've got to set the tactics up right. The team's got to be put out right. The right person in the right places to do the right things. We can't have a situation where, as I saw on Saturday, a player gets sent off and it's like, what the fuck do we do now? That can't happen. It can't happen at this level of football.
Agree. Right, let's have a look at a few comments before we move on to the potential teams. Good evening, David Clark. Hi from Leicester. Told you that if we played 3-4-3, that we would lose by 2 clear goals. I had it at 2-0. Conte's stubbornness will be his downfall. And he follows up by saying, and Conte's reason for 3-5-2 was because Bissouma took a knock on international duty, was bullshit because he brought him on as a sub. And Sam, I think you touched up, was it you or Sean who touched on this, saying he's putting players on the bench that are not
Sean,
fit.
that was Sean.
Yeah,
that was me.
That was you.
I mean, earlier in the season, he had Doherty on the bench, and he said he wasn't fit. He's had Skip on the bench at West Ham, and he said he wasn't fit. You know, that was the night that Højbjerg got cropped and wanted to come off, and he wouldn't put a player on. And it's, you know, I'm not having this picking a player who's not prepared to come on at minute 5. Yeah. Minute 5. You never know when an injury's going to happen or a red card or whatever. You just need to be, you know, you just have to play your players. And I just, you know, it's I'm not wearing this. If he pulls that line again that I couldn't bring on a player from the substitute bench because he was got a knock, then I'm going to start going to saying, what the fuck are you doing? Picking players. Sorry, excuse my French there. Apologies, everyone. That, you know, what the hell are you doing? Picking a player's not 100% fit on the bench.
I gave Conte a little bit of a side eye when he said that comment, because in effect we had 2 players in that midfield area who weren't match fit, who were probably Skip hasn't played since January. Bissouma has made that point about him not being tactically aware and has picked up a knock. Those were our only 2 midfielders, and unless you're gonna count Brian Hill as a midfielder, but he's not a central midfielder. What if Pierre or Benton could have picked up an injury 5 minutes into the game? What if they'd have got sent off? Are you telling me that, oh, you know what, they've only just come, I'm going to put somebody else? Of course he would have put them into midfield. This is what I don't get. You're right, Sean. They should be ready from minute 1 to be able to play 90 minutes. If you're on that bench, you cannot just have a 45 minutes in you, because in a specific position like centre midfield, you could have come on after 5 minutes. You could come on in the second half. There's something wrong in that. Like you said, probably bring on a youngster. What about Papi Sarr?
Yeah,
I'm still plugged up from Saturday. Sorry, guys.
This could be a talking point at some point as well. David Clark is saying, just study history. It's a fact that all great leaders' stubbornness is the reason for their downfall. Neptune, the Mystic. I like your one here. Lol, been hiding from Spurs content since Saturday, but restarting with the best Spurs channel.
Sorry, Neptune. Sorry, Neptune. We've just been dragging it all up again. Yeah,
I'm sorry as well, because I didn't want to do that tonight.
But you're the man, Neptune. See, Neptune, the Mystic. He knows with that crystal ball that best Spurs channel is obviously PAXTON ROAD TV. Moljo, I don't think it was as bad as most are saying, but when you break it down, it was 3 or 4 mistakes. But Moljo, it's the 3 or 4 mistakes constantly that always cost us games. We're probably the only club that make mistakes and get punished every single time. And
well, maybe until Manchester United on Sunday.
Yeah,
but anyway,
but it's the same players, Sean, as well, making the same mistakes. Laurie, Emerson Royal, you know, it's the kind of the same players that making the same mistakes time after time that sometimes are costing us games. Conte has to start trusting the players instead of the same old. This is again, Sam, Sean, we've discussed this. Has he got trust in some of the players, i.e. Spence? We don't know. Lloyd Hughes, you would think the players would be really fired up going into the North London derby. Do players need extra motivation for a game like that? I don't think
not from their public comments prior to the game.
Yeah, I think they know how important it is. The likes of Eric Dyer and people like that, they know how important these games are, especially the North London derbies. And I think Eric Dyer did say something about it is really how important it is for the fans and stuff like that. But we do it season after season after season, don't we?
Listen, we've played Arsenal when we've been terrible. I mean, terrible in the past. You know, we're back down in 16th and they're bloody fighting for leagues and all the rest of it. they always turn up. The history shows that in terms of that North London derby rivalry. Yeah, again, away from home to Arsenal, and this is the last point I'm making on that. Away from home to Arsenal, we haven't got the best results. But I can honestly say, when we haven't had the best result, I've always seen the team fight. I've seen some shocking players for Spurs playing them North London derbies, and we put up a better fight than that. It doesn't. You should never need motivation for a London, and particularly against them lot. Based on what they're doing this season, it's almost unforgivable. But this is the point we've got to see. We've got to see now who he trusts, who he's going to come on and play tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. David Clark is saying Frankfurt have some injuries to some specialist important players. I think Götze has been ruled out, so that's going to be a big plus for Spurs. But they've got other players that are going to come in and probably perform. This is where Conte should come in. He needs to raise the players' confidence. Do you think he's raising the players' confidence after defeats like this? Do you think after Saturday's game, he's gone into that dressing room, had a bitch fit completely? Or do you think he did what he did the last game when we lost? I can't remember who it was against, where he left them in the changing rooms. He didn't say nothing. And then he brought them in early on Monday morning for training session. Sam, do you think he's done the same again? Left them to it and then brought them in Monday morning and just ripped the shreds out of them?
I don't think he can, because I don't think it's all down to the players. Individual mistakes cost us. We saw the first goal. You know, I've watched it back. Son can't defend. I'm sorry to say, Son can't defend. He doesn't know his positional sense in terms of his sense. He's drifting out to kind of cover the Saka with Perisic. But the way his position was, he's overcompensated. There's two players on the edge of the box there. It happened 3 or 4 times. It happened too many times for it to be, you know, he's making mistakes. So he's not obviously confident in that position, or at least not the best defensively. But come on, surely the manager has to take responsibility for what I saw for that third goal. The second goal, yeah, Lloris has put that again. Lloris has got to take responsibility for that. I don't think it's wrong. But that third goal was unavoidable in so many ways. Back from not making the substitutions early off, not someone on the pitch not organised and say, hold on a minute here. We've got no wing back here. They're having a field day down here. Right, Romero, you go to right back. I'm going to go. We'll play a 4-4-1. Nobody on the pitch is doing that, because Conte's almost robotized them that if he hasn't told them what to do, they don't know what to do. And that is a problem in this level of football. I'm sorry. Players have to take responsibility, because if the manager was in the stands, they would have to do something. We've got an England captain out there. We've got a French captain out there. We've got Deji we talk about who's being his leader. We've got all these players, but not one of them can say, hold on a minute, we're getting ripped off on that side. I'm going to take responsibility. You come back here. You come back here. Let's do this. Man, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough.
Right. So I have done 2 teams here. Okay. I've done my potential team, which I think or I would play, and then I've done what Conte is going to do. So if I bring it up, this is my team. This is what I would play tomorrow, right? Hugo in goal, Romero, Dyer, Lenglet, Spence, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Bissouma, Perisic, Son, and Kane up top. We're going to have to play 3 in the middle, because we had this discussion in European football, in Champions League. A lot of games we need to play 3 in the middle. It's proved that 2 is getting knackering, and these 2 are going to be knackered tomorrow. So this is what I would go with, because we've got Son and Kane up top. They can do all the running if they need to. We've got 3 in the middle. Højbjerg can play in front with the other 2 behind him, and then Perisic and Spence. I went with Spence because I don't want to see either Perisic or Son or Sessegnon at right wing back. We've got a recognised right wing back there, so you play Spence, free Spence, and Perisic or Sess on the left. But I went with Perisic because of the experience. What do you think of that team, boys?
Sean,
Sean?
Take it away.
I would have that team in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'd have that team in a heartbeat. I don't, as you say, I don't want to see Perisic trying to play right wing back. He looked too rusty when he did it for us in that game the other week.
Mm-hmm.
He's more suited to playing on the left side. I might even play Sessegnon rather than Perisic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, I mean, I would be happy with that team. But, you know, but I've been happy with some of the teams he's picked until Saturday, you know, and then. But if he picked that team, I'd say that's a team that should get us a point.
Yeah. Sam?
It's all about formations and tactics for me. If he plays a 3-4-3, I think we've got to be a team that controls a bit more possession. This not having the ball is all well and good if you can keep clean sheets or you can keep the scores down so you score more. We saw on Saturday, when that formation breaks down, if the other team scores first, it disrupts everything in a 3-4-3. You have to be able to control games. I like the look of this team, but if he's not played Spence in a league game, I don't see him playing him in a Champions League game for his just debut. Like, I don't see it in an important game like this. I don't see it.
But the thing is, you've got Royal, which after what happened on Saturday, is he going to trust him? Or you bring Doherty in?
Listen,
and if he brings Doherty in, did you see that pass that he put across?
Sid, I've seen everything. This is what I'm saying. This is why my head's doing.
Yeah, to be fair to Doherty, it was a disaster. But he had no option at that point. No one was showing for him. Everyone had taken the message from the Conte that the game was over.
Yeah,
those substitutions were damage limitation substitutions.
Yeah.
That in an Arsenal derby is unforgivable.
100%.
You don't ever concede, even if it means losing 5-1. You try and put something on them.
Yeah. The only caveat to that was some of them players. Like I said, if we'd have picked up an injury to like a Bentancur or a Højbjerg, then we're fucked. So I can understand why. But even so, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can understand why he did that at 3-1 because the game was done. So whether we could have lost 4-2 or 5-3 didn't really matter. The game was lost. Now, we need some of these. We need the majority of these players to be playing the majority of the games this season, or else we don't have the competitiveness in terms of... Because Conte obviously hasn't trusted enough. But Basuma, we're not seeing this guy.
Yeah.
Not seeing this guy. Come on, man.
True. Right, so that's my team. This is what I would play. However, this is what I think Conte is going to do tomorrow. This is what I think Conte is going to do. Lloris, the back three is going to stay the same. He's going to play Sessegnon at right wing back, Perisic at left wing back, Højbjerg and Bentancur in the middle, and Son, Kane and Kulu. This is what I think is going to be the lineup tomorrow. Agree, disagree?
You think he's going to play Sessegnon at right wing back?
He did it. He done it in the Prem, didn't he?
He did. That's 10.
Well, in game he did that. He didn't start a game with Sessegnon at
he did.
Right wing back.
He did. Or was it Perisic right wing back? And
Perisic started right wing back, and I think he was on the left. But he did switch over mid game, so he has played on that right. Sean, what's your thoughts? Because I look at that. That's 10 players.
I know.
9 outfield and the goalkeeper that played on Saturday.
But Sam,
they all played on Saturday. So what you're saying to me, if this lot are the ones that he trusts to play on Tuesday, they have to be the same ones he trusts for them to play on Saturday, because Saturday's just as important as tomorrow's game, in my opinion. Because Brighton away isn't a walk in the park either at this moment in time. So you can't take that for granted, and it's always probably 5% down on what you're going to perform in that game after, because just for that whole aspect of the whole Champions League draining mentality thing. It's not so much the physical side, it's the mental side, which is the problem. Champions League will drain you, and I can't, for the life of me, if this team was the ones that start, I'd be worried. I would be worried.
Yeah, but we've said this, haven't we, Sean?
I think he's more likely to start Royal at right wing.
I see you're starting right back as well. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I just think he's going to back him because he knows he's not going to have him for the league games, so he's going to have to do a rotation. He knows he needs the point tomorrow. He needs the point tomorrow. He'll go with someone who can defend,
but Sean,
and will feel comfortable on the right side. I'm not saying that he's.
Sean, I don't want 1 point. Tomorrow we have to win that game. I'm not buying this. He'll be happy with 1 point. We've had 2 shite one crap performance, one all right performance, which we only lost in injury time. We need to win that game tomorrow, because if we get a point or a loss, it's going to put more pressure.
I agree. I don't think we can afford to lose. I think we can afford to take a point. The reason I say that is we have got 2 home games left. You get 10 points in the Champions League in a group where a team hasn't picked up any points at the moment. You're probably this is what I'm saying. We have to look at Frankfurt now as the ones that we've got to match. Yes. So therefore, we draw against them. As long as we don't win our home games, which means we beat them in when they come to us, we should be in that position where we'll finish first or second. Probably second by the looks of it. We can't discount Marseille if they win against Lisbon. That'll be a problem. So we have to a few things have got to fall our way, but we can't lose tomorrow. We just can't lose. Yeah. But a draw, I'll take a draw. As I said, I'll take a draw.
Cool. Spursy 141. Good evening. Evening, guys. Not too confident about tomorrow. I'm not going to lie. We've got Jodi is saying, Sid, that's the team he should have played on Saturday. So I think he's referring to the team that I put out first.
Yeah, your team, yeah.
Yeah. Lloyd Hughes is saying again, I'd go for something like that, Sid. Good formation and lineup. Hey, there you go. Paul Mansbridge is saying, the right team, Sid. Hey, there you go. Look, I'm looking good. David Clark is putting Forster in goal. I was looking at Forster, but I don't think so. I think he'll go with experience and he'll go with Lloris. I think then he's going with Spence, Benson, Go, Højbjerg, Basuma, Perisic, Kane, and Son. So I think he's only changed Forster there. And then Moljo is saying, trouble is Emerson can't defend really. Everyone says he can. I don't see if he's got skinned 2 to 3 times in the first half on Saturday. We can have a session on Emerson Royal all day long. The £1 million that he spent to do, I don't know what he went to do. Then that video he posted of him dancing in the street. I don't know what was going on with that as well. So
you know what? Do you know what that defensive thing? I said this a long time ago. I don't think he's a very good defender, but I've given Conte credit for playing him more defensively because he's probably a better, which is the damning indictment of our wing backs, by the way. He's probably the best defender of our right-sided wing backs. That Doherty, I don't think he's as good a defender as Emerson, but Emerson's not a great defender. I think Doherty's probably a better positional sense.
Yeah,
but he gets skinned as well. This is why we have to see what Jed Spence does. If he gets skinned as well, we've got massive problems. But I don't think he will. I don't think he would. I think he'll be so up for it that he'll be willing to run up and down. He's 22, for God's sake. If you can't run up and down at 22, you got no hope. You got no hope, man.
I mean, I saw a tweet which sort of, you know, it started with Walker and then it traced all our right wing backs.
Yes.
And the decline was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Right. We have not had a decent right wing back since Kyle Walker. And even when he came with us, he was rusty as hell. It took some work by Pochettino to do his fullback whispering, you know. But I mean, it's been a steady decline, and it's a problem position for us. I mean, John, I would have Serge Aurier at the moment because at least, you know, at least he can create stuff.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
And is it right? So next section is going to be players to watch. Before I tell you my players to watch, Sam, players to watch.
No, I don't even know them, Frankfurt.
No.
If I'm honest with you, I don't follow them. I don't know of them. I don't really care. The players to watch for me is every single bloody one of them tomorrow. Every single player is a one to watch because I'm watching them very closely. I'll tell you that much.
Right, Shawnee?
Well, until the injury news came through, obviously the experience of Garcia, who's been at Bayern and at Dortmund, would have been one to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are players that we have to, you know, we'll. I mean, one thing about German football is I mean, Bayern aside, it's very competitive underneath them, and you know, how many of their players, you know, would we be looking for? You know, we were supposed to want Guardiola from Leipzig, and you know, they produce good players or they develop good players. And you know, they play the German league's exciting. You know, when you watch the games, even you know between teams that are not Bayern, you know they're competitive and they're interesting, and you know they've got some great players. I tend to watch a lot more Italian football, so I would speak more experience with that. But yeah, I don't really know the Eintracht players that well.
Yeah. They've got an Ndika at the back who's supposed to be a really good defender, and I've gone with Kamada because he's a very skillful player and he gets a lot of things ticking with them. And obviously for us, I've gone with Richarlison because after his 2 goals in the last game, I think he'll be he should be up for it again in the Champions League. But
do you know what? See, going back just that last thing about the formation, if we play 3-5-2, it will allow us to have more control in the game because you have more personnel in midfield and you can have a little bit more possession control. At the moment with the 3-4-3, we are relying on springing from a shape unless we win the ball high up the pitch. And as much as people say it's a good because it doesn't mean that we are conserving or consuming much energy, should I say, it means you're not in control. Arsenal pulled us all around the pitch. They were in control. And all it takes is a couple of mistakes, as we've seen, positional sense from Son, mistakes from the goalkeeper, a red card. It all breaks down. Control the game with personnel. You can always change it back to being more direct, but you can't go from a direct to them trying to control it if you're losing a game. It's just
This is why, Sam. This is why I went with a 3 in the middle because Højbjerg has been sometimes this season a box-to-box player, and if you've got Bentancur and Bissouma sitting behind him, Bissouma can do the washing up in front of Dyer and them lot, and Bentancur come drift in between.
You've got 3 players there who've all got engines on them.
Exactly.
It don't make sense why you wouldn't have one more in there to be able to really control that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Bentancur and Højbjerg, and I'm saying to myself, I see the same parallels with what's happened last season. If we just play them, one of them's going to burn out, one of them's going to be overplayed, one of them's going to get injured. We're going to have to rely on the other players anyway. So,
and the problem is, Sam, I don't know about you as well, Sean. Højbjerg's had a lot of hammering on Saturday after the North London derby because, and we said it, they were having almost 4 or 5 in that middle at times against Bentancur and Højbjerg, and they were run ragged. And there's only so much Højbjerg and Bentancur can do, because if they're pressed, there was no one else around them, and they were just playing the ball, ping, ping, ping around them. And these two were getting absolutely knackered. And if they had a Bissouma in there, maybe that would have dealt with the Partey problem, and it would have, that then would have given us the opportunity to get into that game a bit more. So we're knackering our own players out, and if we are seeing that, I don't know why Conte isn't seeing that at all. One question I want to ask you guys, and I've read this a few times on Twitter and other social medias. Just a quick answer on this one. Since his injury, do you think Romero's struggling since he's come back? Sean?
Well, I mean, people have raised it, and you've kind of, I mean, it's, I suppose people who see him in the stadium, you see a lot more than when you do on TV. He does seem to be, you wonder whether he's saving himself. This work that the thing with the Latin Americans is that they do invest a lot in their national team, and the World Cup. They realise that this is the last chance Messi's got to win a World Cup. And I really think that they are, they might well have one eye on Qatar. And, he might be nursing an injury, trying to play through it so that he still gets picked. He's going to be picked, but, he doesn't look the same dominant Romero that he did. I would say he hasn't really been, that dominant since Chelsea away.
Sam?
I agree completely with Sean. I think players are now. I even looked at Richarlison at the weekend. He was fantastic. And now he's obviously, we've got to take into account the international break. Players traveling here, there, and everywhere and coming back. But I looked at Richarlison. I thought, this player is not necessarily playing within himself, but he weren't the Richarlison I was expecting to play in that derby. I was expecting a lot more. I know we got the penalty for us. A lot of these players are probably playing within themselves. You got to think, even if you get a 2-week injury now at this stage, that could potentially have a knock-on effect. Unless we're doing what England did a few years ago and take players like David Beckham's and, the Wayne Rooney's when they're injured. These players are thinking to themselves, I want to go to this World Cup. I want to go. And I could play 90%, or I could pay 95 to 100% and get myself injured. You know what? I might. That's just the mentality side of it. I don't even think it's a conscious thing. I just think it's a subconscious thing that any of us would do. You're looking forward to a World Cup with your mates, with all your team, your national side. You don't want to miss it, do you? You don't want to miss it.
On Richarlison said, Jodi and I on the show last night were talking about it. He had quite an emotional week. You know,
yes.
I mean, he scored goals for Brazil, but then he had that incident in Paris where he was racially abused.
Yeah,
and you can be paid all the money in the world if you're getting racist abuse doing your job, which is totally unacceptable. It can affect you, and I would have taken him off at half time, to be honest, because I thought, other than his contribution for the penalty, he was not at it. Exactly. And I think he's had a really, he's a human being. In the end, they're generally working class, well paid human beings, but they are human beings and they get hurt, and there's an emotional thing going on. I would have spared him in the second half, and
just that last thing as well, Sean, because now we've got a bit of a doubt about Kulusevski.
2 weeks.
We can't play a 3-4-3. We've only got 3 forwards. Lucas Moura's still out. He don't trust Gil. We're not seeing anybody else come. You got to keep one back. That's what I thought from Saturday. When I knew Kulu was a doubt, and I'm thinking to myself, well, he's only going to have to play 2 because we can bring one of them on. But he played all 3. He had nowhere to go. Nowhere.
Agree. 10-0 football, good evening. Yes, Paxton Road, big up. Malt Joe is saying, I'm with you, Sam. Conte has to get down off his pedestal and give Spence a go. What's all we going? Go 10-0 football. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but if I'm Basuma and maybe Spence too, I'd be looking for a way out already. I said this to you about Spence, didn't I? That by the time January transfer window comes and he's not had any game time, he's either going to get loaned out or he's going to say, do you know what? I'm going to knock on Conte's door and say, am I in your plans? If not, sell me. And I think Conte will say, he's a club player. He's not I didn't buy him. Go on over with PRTv.
Do you know what was telling was Spence's sister did a post, an Instagram post. I don't know if you've seen it. And it's like the final score thing, the Spurs, final score, and then underneath she's written it could have been something else. Yeah. And you just think, there's unhappiness there, and it's communicated from brother to sister, and she's just like,
Well, you would be the same, wouldn't it? You think you've your family's seen you get a dream move to one of the top London clubs, one of the top clubs in the world. We've got a massive fan base. Yeah. He's gone from Middlesbrough to Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, he's not probably not expecting to play every game, but certainly with all the razzmatazz that he came with, we've seen what he can do. We just haven't seen him do it in a shirt of ours. We've seen it in a Forest shirt. If he was to go in January, I would question. I would question what's happening at Spurs. I would 100%. Question it. 100% question what's 100%. Going on there.
Conte, David Clark, Conte bought in 6-foot players, yet doesn't use the physicality to our advantage. Jews nuts. If sings a German song today, we'll win tomorrow. I can't sing German. I don't even know any songs in German, so I don't know. He's also saying Romero is a shadow of his former self. I think you two summed it up with the fact that there's a World Cup coming and they don't want to get injured and they just want to keep playing, keep staying fit.
Or worse still, hide an injury.
Yeah, or hide an injury because World Cup is going to be massive to them. Spursy 141. Don't forget to like and subscribe, people. Yes, please. If you just smash a like, much appreciated. David Clark, since his injury, Romero isn't the same player. His physical attributes causes groin and hip problems, and that's what he is struggling with. I agree. Jews is saying, no, Spence needs to earn his dues. He needs to learn the Conte way. There you go. He has learned the Conte way 9 games in, and he's already learned the way. Sit on the bench.
Can I say something to that? Because this is what I'm saying. When Conte came in, when did he come into our club? November? Was it November he came in?
Yeah.
He had no choice but to play certain players, regardless of whether they knew his ways or not. He had to play wings. We saw the likes of the name that we don't want to mention anymore, the French one that was the player that I thought was great, but he's no longer with us anymore. He's gone. Then we had to play players because he just had to play them. What is the difference? You're telling me that one player who's been with us since the summer can't get an opportunity to play, even if he's not 100% fully au fait with all of Conte's rituals and tactics and all the rest of it? That cannot be right, because we've seen that other managers are putting their players in because they know they have to. Our problem is, if Conte doesn't trust these players, when are they going to be able to earn their dues?
This is it. 100% dues. And just final thing before we ask for the score predictions, I was with Gumza on Armory TV and we were just chatting, and he said to me, when the team sheet came out, he looked at that team sheet, he wasn't bothered about Son. He said what he was really excited about was the fact that Spence was not playing, because he saw what Spence did to Martinelli last season, and he said to me, I was so glad that Spence did not play that game, because that gave Martinelli the freedom, and it proved. So there we go. Right, moving on to score predictions, guys. Sean, what's your prediction for tomorrow?
Although we need a win, we probably need a win. I see us coming out with a draw, and I think Sonny won't score.
1-0 to Spurs. Oh, a draw.
No, draw. 1-1.
1-1. Cool. Sam?
I've seen a draw as well. I'm saying the same scoreline, 1-1. If Richarlison, I'm saying one of the wing backs might score. If either, I'm hoping. I don't know. Spence isn't. I'm rambling here. Let me just say, Sessegnon on the score sheet. That's it. 1-1. Sessegnon on the score sheet. I don't know.
Right.
He likes to score in Germany.
He does, doesn't he? What we're saying here, I think there's a lot of comments on Spence. Look, Spence tore Arsenal and Leicester apart. That's proof he can do it. He's also saying, look, Conte deliberately went out of his way to tell the world that Spence wasn't his signing when he didn't need to do that. Juicy saying Beans and Frank's nil, Spurs 2.
Oh, please.
Our very own Spursy 141 said she's not eagerly excited, and what was the word? She said she's not confident, but it'll be 1-0 to Spurs. Harry Kane. I honestly think at their ground it's going to be a very tough game. It's not going to be as easy as we think it is, but I think Spurs are going to turn up tomorrow. They have to turn up tomorrow, and I think Conte is probably giving them a bashful. I hope Eric Dyer's gone in there and absolutely tore the place to bits as well. And I think we'll get a 2-1 victory. I don't know who's going to score. I'm not even going to predict who's going to score, but I think 2-1 to us.
Can I ask both of you a question? Who do you think is close enough to Conte? Whether it's his brother, whether it's these other guys that he's around, who do you think is close enough to maybe say to him, Conte, if he thought about this? Because I don't know if he's got anybody around. I know he's got his brother in his coaching staff, and maybe he's got a close. But is there anybody that's going to say to him, "Listen, Antonio, I know you like this sort, but have you thought about this? Maybe I don't know. Is there anybody that's willing to put their head on to not get shot? I don't know. I don't know what Conte's like if people challenge him like that. I don't know all. You know what I mean?
I think he's got his sidekicks, hasn't he? He's got that what do you call it? The SEAL guy or whoever guy is, the bodyguard. I think he's there. I think there's the other guy who's always sat next to him. But
are they yes men? Are they all men that will just pander to him?
This is
or
the
will
problem.
they people that will say to him, listen? Because you need that around you. You need that around you as a number two. As a number one, you need to have people that will challenge you, because you don't always make the best choices, particularly in the heat of an environment like that. You need someone to kind of say to you, bounce things off, and that's the best managers always have. Look at Alex Ferguson. He always had a number two that was of a top quality, because he knows the importance of it. He knows the importance of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. Maybe we need to call up Ryan Mason and say, go on, go and say, look, we need
Ryan
to do
Mason.
But do you know what?
Right.
If you
well, he's in the first team coaching thing. He's the only one who's not close to Conte.
Yeah,
he needs someone to do it.
If you watch other teams, Liverpool's, Man City's, even Arsenal, Man United, you've got somebody that's always talking to the manager, sat down, either tactically with a notepad or the tactic books, telling them, look, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. Conte, 95% of the time, he's always on the touchline with his arm folded, shouting or whatever instructions.
He's always coaching.
He's always coaching.
He's made these players into the system that he's got, that he's almost directing them.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, if that doesn't work and there's a breakdown, your players have to have this up there to change things themselves. All the best teams have that. All the best players have the ability. You just got, I know we're going to go back into the old 90s and 2000 days, but all them best teams had them. They had leaders on the pitch that will say, I don't care what the manager said, not to a point where I don't care what the manager said, but they're on the firing line. They're on the pitch. They can see what's going on. You can see what's happening on that right hand side. I don't need my manager to tell me what to do. I'll go and do it myself, because that's the sort of player or mentality that I had. We've got to sort this out, lads. I don't think there's enough of that in our squad because of how they've been drilled so much.
I mean, the telling shot for me was after the red card was Conte in sort of collab with his number 2, not the fitness guy, but the other guy who the one who usually harangues the fourth official, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. It's like they they hadn't thought that they might go down to 10 men in a North London derby.
This is it.
And at one point they had 1 sub, and then they brought on 4 subs, and then they committed the cardinal sin, Sam's cardinal sin. They put Sanchez at left centre back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
This is
like
it all went pear shaped. I know we've touched on the Arsenal game.
I mean, to be fair, Sanchez didn't do anything wrong, but it's the unwritten rule of PAXTON ROAD TV. Sanchez does not play a left centre back ever. It's
not a rule. It's law. It's law.
It's the unwritten law of football.
Law.
Right.
Our channel.
David Clark, Frankfurt 1, Spurs 2, Kane 1, Richarlison 1. Paul Mansbridge, good evening. Spurs 2-0 with Son getting both the goals. Malt Jaw, Frankfurt 1, Spurs 2, and someone take Kane off free kicks, please.
Oh, no. Please, that free kick in the second half. Oh,
Spurs 141. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you
Spurs. Guys.
That's it. Juicelets, Brian Clough wasn't good when his second in command left. Correct? Forgot his name.
Peter Taylor.
Taylor. That's right. I thought it was much.
Taylor.
Call up Ryan Mason. Do we need somebody to give the oranges out? Yeah, that's it. Paul Mansbridge is saying Son loves scoring in Germany. There we go. Right, guys.
That comment there from David Clark. That's it. There you go. Great teams, good teams, great teams always have somebody or have people on the pitch who will lead the people on the pitch. You've got your manager who can do all that, but in the firing line, when things aren't going quite right, when you don't have an actual plan, we didn't know what to do, they should have in their men. Because as you just said, Sid, it's not like it's not like we've only had one sending off in a North London derby ever. It happens most games. It happens most games. You have to have scenarios to know about what's going to happen.
The good coaches, they train for that. They'll take a player off and say, right, this 10 will defend against,
That's it.
And again, nobody's saying, I'm not saying Conte is not a world-class elite coach. No. I'm questioning what I'm seeing as a very, not a basic coach, but I know enough about football. I don't even think you have to be a coach. You can just see it yourselves. You can see what the problem is sometimes on the pitch. And for me, that's where we need to sort that out. Players have to do their own thing.
What we need is what's the name said? So macho. He's got to be big and strong, be able to shout at all the rest. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, Champions League Matchday 3 tomorrow. Eintracht Frankfurt versus Tottenham Hotspur in Germany. That's the preview for the game. Hopefully, we will do a reaction show as well. And hopefully, it will be a happy, smiling faces reaction show. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure having everyone in the comment sections with your comments. please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and follow us, as I will follow you wherever you may go. There isn't a mountain too high. Anyway, on that note, thank you very much, Sean. Thank you very much,
Cheers.
Sam.
No
Have a
worries.
great evening, and we shall see you tomorrow. Come on, you Spurs. Go on, Sean.
Come on, you Spurs.